you'd like to jump in and provide some highlights from your session.
I can go first. This is Janvi from the city of Hamilton. I was part of the first breakout room. We were discussing methane fugitive emissions. And our discussion was around challenges that prevent us from implementing LCA of natural gas in our quantification practice and our decision making. And the two kind of challenges that we discussed, the first one was about legitimacy. So a lot of municipalities currently use federal government emission factors, and factors published by other groups, their level of credibility comes into question because anything apart from federal and provincial is often seen as less credible in the eyes of elected officials and decision makers. So it's difficult to get internal staff on board. And the second challenge was discussed, that was difficulty in comparison with other municipalities. So in case different emission factors are used between different municipalities, that kind of becomes a challenge to compare and contrast with other greenhouse gas inventories. And on that note, we were also saying that Environment and Climate Change Canada is on track to update some of the emission factors because science has kind of said that we've been missing out on some of the fugitive emissions. And the last kind of discussion we were talking about is how we use 20-year global warming potential figures right now. But if that were to change to 100-year global warming potentials, that would significantly increase the amount of methane fugitive emissions in our inventory. So those were the kind of three key discussion topics in breakout room 1.
Thank you for that efficient rundown of the conversation. Any questions for that group, or other thoughts from any other members that were in that room?
Just a quick clarification. I think Johanvi was capturing one of my last points, but I think I got the factors backwards. So it's really that right now we're using the 100-year equivalency for carbon emissions equivalent, and if we switch to the 20-year, then as we proposed, at least for certain purposes at TAF, that has a big impact, particularly on municipal, like corporately owned emissions factors from the municipally owned resources, because waste is already a significant share of municipally owned assets. And if you switch to that 20-year carbon dioxide equivalency calculation, then you really significantly increase the share of waste in that corporate profile.
Thanks, Brian. For everyone else that maybe wasn't in that room but might be interested, Juan or TAF team, can we give a bit of an update on some of our research and a forthcoming report on this issue and when that might be coming out?
Yeah, well, we are finishing the review of the draft, and we hope that probably within this month or the next month, we will publish a guideline with emission factors and instruction of how to use them for full life cycle natural gas emissions.
All right, thank you. Okay, if nothing else from room 1, seeing nothing, let's, oh, Gabby, did you have anything, or are you just getting ready to talk about your room? All right, go for it.
So we were in group 2. It was relating to how to use data to inform decision makers to influence decisions taking place. People raised a lot of things with regards to the tools that are available at present, such as RET-Screen, as well as, you know, there's certainly a robust inventory methodology, but one of the things that people have heard is that it's not the inventory so much that is the issue, it's identifying the quantification of the climate potential of different actions and kind of comparing across the implementation of actions and at what scale. So that kind of like almost like screening it, implementation of actions with a tool, but that it also enables you to kind of bring in the co-benefits conversation, because that was one area that people identified, that we need to build up our ability to speak to the co-benefits to engage decision makers, in addition to the quantification of the overall business case. The one key thing that people also mentioned is the need to ensure that it moves towards the 3 pillars, applying an environmental, economic, and social benefits lens to these actions. And that's where we are a little bit weaker in the modeling and that is taking place in terms of providing a quantification of those co-benefits is one area that needs to be improved. Certainly another area that was kind of identifying is bringing in the future carbon price into the overall decision making, not just sitting there with our present carbon pricing, but bringing that overall. That is one kind of argument or a narrative that will engage a larger business and a senior management efforts. That was kind of like the benefits of the kind of reaching out to decision makers and how to engage them in a comprehensive way. The one thing that was relating to the collaboration opportunities, it really is that we don't have to recreate the wheel. We can build on these things and then kind of take in the narratives that is used with regards to co-benefits. One of the key things that other people also mentioned was the need to track implementation. And not just on being able to highlight how far is implementation. Is it consistent with the level of ambition within the plan? And is it making progress towards the level of ambition that we need to achieve? And how do we highlight that in a data tracking mechanism to shine light on implementation progress, which is where we really need to put the emphasis. I did want to kind of highlight assigning the targets. It's not just the top-down approach, but the bottom-up. The need to align the targets and the implementation responsibilities to different departments within a municipality for the corporate initiatives, but also engaging with different sectors of society. For example, the clean tech sector is something that we don't necessarily have a very good handle on, but it's something that if we could actually engage the clean tech sector and bring them to decision makers and show the green economic development opportunities, that will help support implementation. I did want to kind of highlight on, let me see if I missed anything, but I think that covers it. But I'm going to pull it out to the group if I missed something that you really think is important to raise. And I know I did. So others in the group. Okay, I will summarize this up.
Thumbs up and nods. Yeah, thank you, Gabby. All right, excellent. Any questions or final thoughts on room 2? Okay, maybe we'll keep just going right down the line here, and so I'll jump in with a summary from room 3 on remote work. Also known as telecommuting, also known as work from home. So we had Derek from Pollution Pro present on some of the work that they've been doing in this area. Research has shown a 10-fold increase in Canada in rates of number of employees, people working from home over the last year and a half, obviously brought on by the pandemic. And so Pollution Probe has been worked with the City of Edmonton to assess the emissions impact of their employees, the City of Edmonton employees working from home, and found that the GHG intensity per employee working from home could result in over a ton of emissions saved annually through transportation emissions by avoiding those commuting trips. And so this finding and subsequent work around it led to a partnership with the City of Toronto. And so they're currently undertaking a similar research initiative with them to identify best practices as they look to shape their official work from home policy going forward as part of their modern TO and smart commute programs. And so that work is currently ongoing with a survey to employees to better understand their trends and how they anticipate getting to work going forward. And so we sort of put it out to the group to hear whether other municipalities, other people are thinking about this issue as well, and heard from York Region and Guelph that this is definitely something that's also on their radar. And I suspect others in this room as well have also thought about this topic and formalizing these policies and practices so that they actually do contribute to emissions reductions, and that the decrease in transportation emissions is not offset or neutralized by an increase in building emissions, energy consumption at home, and that sort of thing. And so Pollution Probe is diving a little bit more deeply into those potential negative side effects with the City of Toronto and trying to mitigate that. And so, Derek, if I recall correctly, that your work with the city is, you're expecting that to wrap up in May. But if any other groups are interested in learning more about it, or perhaps having some involvement in the study, is there any way for them to get involved in that in the shorter term?
Yeah, most definitely. So I would imagine that some of the organizations on this call here are part of this Smart Commute program. It's not just the City of Toronto. There are 600 partner organizations in the program, including neighboring municipalities. So they'll all get direct access to the project outputs, but we'll also be making these outputs public. So when the final project report is published in May of next year, it'll be broadly disseminated to municipalities across the country and other key stakeholder groups as well. It'll be publicly available from the City of Toronto or from Pollution Probe. And if you're interested in this topic in general, or would like more background on the work that we're doing, or just would like pointers on leading some work locally or inside your respective organizations on this topic, you can reach out to Pollution Probe at any time. My email is dmay@pollutionprobe.org. Feel free to email me directly, or just reach out to us through our website, pollutionprobe.org. We're pretty easy to track down.
Thanks, Derek. And I believe along with our notes from this meeting, we'll also, pending final approval from the presenters, plan to also share slides, if that's all right, so that people also have your contact information and some info about the research that way. All right, so more to come on that. But in the meantime, moving on with just a few minutes left to our final group discussing green development standards. If we get a quick rundown of what that group talked about.
Sure. Chris, do you want to do your talk about your presentation and talk about the discussion after?
Yeah, so I guess we're engaging in a TAF-funded project to try to bring more accessibility to dealing with energy models at municipalities to support them in implementing, energy performance requirements within green development standards. And there's the potential opportunity to be collecting a lot of data if they were to enact that and kind of use a tool like this to build up a big database of, really details of building performance and building characteristics, and sharing that data with other municipalities and other uses for that data, like going right up to developing future codes and standards. So that's kind of the base of what we started on.
Yeah, and just super quickly, we talked about what data should be collected and collecting and sharing in order to advance green development standards. So we discussed a lot about the importance of kind of having like open data, but also like information shared across different jurisdictions as well, and the issues around how municipalities don't obviously all have the same level of staffing support. Obviously, Toronto is very different than, say, Brock and in what they can do. And so it was kind of the importance of gathering the data, being able to understand and then use the data, which is where the tool comes in for municipalities in order so that they can make proper decisions, and then using the data in an actionable manner. So that's the very quick overview as we run out of time. I don't know if anyone else in the group wants to chime in.
Thank you, everyone. Just keeping an eye on the clock. I think we'll wrap things up here, but really do appreciate our presenters, the time you took to speak to our network today. Much appreciated. And as we said, we will be circulating minutes from this meeting, as well as contact information for the presenters if you'd like to learn more. Going forward, we're also very open to any suggestions on future topics that you would like to see. And in general, if you thought this format worked well as a way to sort of discuss a wider range of ideas. So we do hope to be in touch about that. And in the meantime, hope that everyone has a great rest of the afternoon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.